Melbourne reported its first coronavirus case in the community after 28 days of zero cases. The person worked at a quarantine hotel housing Australian Open tennis players. Bloomberg's David Stringer is in Melbourne with us now. So David, what's the response been of authorities in Melbourne?
Well, quite swift and in a sense quite dramatic. As you say, Melbourne recorded that first case of community transmission in about a month. That was one of the staff at one of the many hotels in Melbourne city centre that's been hosting those players and officials who've been arriving from overseas for the Australian Open tennis tournament, scheduled to open next week. Last night, the Victorian authorities immediately moved to raise the kind of restrictions and the conditions that the public here are having to live by. Masks were made mandatory again inside all buildings. Previously, that had been relaxed somewhat, and only certain crowded areas, public transport, some buildings have been places where you absolutely had to wear a mask. That's now been changed. Also, some of the limits around the numbers of people households can have in a day, the number of visitors people can have, that's been reduced again. And perhaps most significantly, next Monday was due to see many more Melburnians return back to the city centre, return to their offices. That'll now be delayed. Some of the sort of increases in capacity limits for offices, well, that'll be put on hold until this latest issue is dealt with.
What about the players? Will they need to go back into quarantine?
Absolutely, many hundreds of them, about 500 in fact, will need to isolate immediately. Now they're the players and coaches, the tournament officials who were staying at the same place, the Grand Hyatt hotel in Melbourne. Because they were in the same facility as the worker who's tested positive, they've all been categorized as close contacts. They will have to isolate until they have a negative test result. I guess the good news for the players is that doesn't mean they're going to miss out on their appearance in the Australian Open. The tournament officials do think that the players will have those tests done, potentially results back as soon as late Thursday.
So does that mean the Australian Open will go ahead as planned? No changes to the schedule?
Look, that's right. Tournament organisers this afternoon have been out and saying that absolutely, that the tournament will go ahead as planned next Monday. Of course, it has already been subject to one delay. It should have happened last month. So it has already been disrupted by the virus, but this latest incident won't pose any significant challenges. Things will go ahead as planned. Matches will take place at the same time. The only disruptions have been to some of the sort of lead-in tournaments. Play that should have taken place today at some of those warm-up events, that's been cancelled. But the main event, that will go ahead as planned.